I love to cook at home, and having good kitchenware makes all the difference in the world. Not only does good equipment make prep and cooking easier, but it makes it more enjoyable. This is why I am a huge fan of Made in Cookware. Their wide range of cookware, from pots and pans to knives and flatware and even glassware, are designed to be professional quality for right in your home. I myself have over a dozen pieces from Made in, including pots, pans, pizza steel, knives, and a beer glass. Yeah, beer glassware. They have that all. Take your cooking to the next level by upgrading your cookware by going to unitedwedrink.com/madein. That's MADEIN. Find out why pros like Grant Achatz, Sean Brock, Nancy Silverton, and Eric Repair trust Made In. Go to unitedwedrink.com/madein and upgrade your kitchen and cooking today. The opinions and statements in this podcast do not represent those of the host's employers, co-workers, family, or imaginary friends. Now enjoy the show.
Happy hour? More like amateur hour. Welcome to United We Drink.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the United We Drink podcast right here on unitedwedrink.com, as well as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and wherever fine podcasts are found. My name is Mike Urevich, and I wish that my daycare would go to like a DocuSign thing, because I've been signing a lot of fucking papers for the kids' next school year worth of stuff. So, a little bit of cramping in my hands. I'm getting old, I guess.
That's where I was going to go with this.
With me, as always, is someone who's growing old with me, Kevin Abbott.
Honor and a privilege, Mike, to be here with you. Listen, I'm just surprised anyone's signing anything. If I get a document that is not in a PDF format that I can't, business-wise, that I can't use a digital signature for, I don't even know what to do with myself. I've forgotten how to. I have to print it and then write in it and then scan it again. I mean, what is it? It's the fucking 1990s. It's really strange how easily you adapt to technology and then consider anyone else a Luddite who does not do those things. I got a request for a donation via mail the other day. I was shocked. You
almost threw it out before opening it, I bet.
I didn't almost throw it out. But I looked at it. I'm telling you, my first instinct was, what am I supposed to do with this? It was shocking to me. I was like, can I send a carrier pigeon with my email so you can just send this to me in a manner that I can digest it?
Speaking of mail, do you get stuff from coaster collectors in the mail?
It's been a while, but I over the years, 10, 15 times, I've gotten a request for stickers or coasters, sometimes with $1 in the envelope, or a self-addressed stamp envelope with $1. And most of the time they sent me $1. I mean, I don't want, if it didn't send me $1, I wouldn't have sent it back, because it's annoying to have to. I mean, I know it sounds really, really shitty. I got to walk down the hall and I got to open up a closet and throw a coaster in there. Yeah, I know it's not that big of a deal, but there is something presumptuous about it that I get a little annoyed by.
Oh, I used to get so many of these at my first brewery, and they annoyed me to no end. But I'm a very easily annoyed person. So, and
you are
so often, yes, the dollar bill would be in there. And it's like, okay, when that would happen, I'd be like, maybe I'll help you out here. But so many times, the self-addressed stamped envelope that they sent, you couldn't fit a coaster in there. Like,
yeah.
I can't do anything with this, bud. Or it wouldn't be enough postage. Like they would put it for like what would be a letter. I'm like, these. You're asking me for like 2 to 4 coasters. You're going over the weight limit that you have on the postage on here. Also, they have their little forums. I haven't found them. They must be on the dark web. But they will send, like, if you send one of them a coaster, they then upload a picture of it to their forums. They're like, look what I just got from Copper Point.
Wait. You said you haven't seen this?
Sorry.
Now you're saying you've seen this.
Well, this is what I understand.
From good sources? I feel like you're making this whole thing up.
And then they would, like, other people will send a printout of that picture of the coaster that you sent the other person. Like, can you send me these ones? And it's just like, oh my God.
I feel like there are also some people that will sell them.
Oh yeah, we started to do that after we got so many of those requests.
No, I'm saying that we'll get these coasters either for free or for $1 and try to resell them.
Oh, gotcha. That wouldn't surprise me. Like, you can find anything on eBay, including some of your kegs. But
I found. Did I ever talk about that in the show? How many times we found kegs for sale on whatever Nextdoor? I don't even know what the sites are, but kegs up for sale, and it's like 5 these barrel amongst kegs, and there's beer in them. Good luck. It's only $50 a piece. And we've had people go there, like send staff over to like look at them and go, oh yeah, this is great, and just grab them and walk out. And they're going, oh, what are you doing? You're stealing stealing my kegs. I'm like, yeah, we're stealing them back. You stole the keg from us. Oh, I got that at an estate sale. I mean, yeah, but you don't own that. That's my property. And I've had that happen many times. It's really frustrating when that happens.
There is a local brewery. I will not name them, but you know who they are. Who, when they were opening, bought a bunch of kegs, local breweries, national breweries, regional breweries, from a bar that went out of business at their estate sale. And they posted like a video tour of their brewery, and I'm like, why do they have my kegs and Funky Buddha's kegs and Founder's kegs? And like, I found out like you are a brewery. Open it. Like, you don't understand that those kegs don't belong to you. Like, you have no business owning a brewery.
So there was one time, I will say this, and this just re-upped my faith in humanity. I had somebody who was posting these kegs for sale, and there was like 5 kegs, and they actually got them from Joel's old spot. When it closed, they had some Barrel Amongst kegs there up in West Palm, and they got into the building to scrap a bunch of stuff or whatever it was, and they said, take those kegs. So they took them, they put them up for sale, and usually I do subterfuge. Oh, I'm interested. I'm going to come by and get them, and then I steal them back. But that's also getting more and more dangerous since everyone's being shot these days for walking onto people's property. So I was like, I want to try a new tactic. I'm just going to be honest and say, hey man, this is my property. I know you're selling it. Maybe you bought it, but it's mine. I kind of need it back. So I did, and he's like, oh, absolutely, man. I'm so sorry. I didn't know it was your property. If I would have known, I would have came right to you. I didn't know how any of this works. Where can I meet you to give your kegs back? Couldn't have been a nicer freaking guy. Just wanted to do the right thing. And I had to go above and beyond to tell this person how impressed I was with them. And he's just like, man, of course. It's your stuff. Why would I take it? I was like, yeah, but you don't understand. You're a special kind of human. But that actually did happen once. I'm pointing out the assholes. I have to point out the good guys out there.
That is really nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Kevin, what are you drinking?
I am almost done with my Summerfest lager because this is just so good. I love this beer. By the time this comes out, we will have featured this on Old Favorite Friday. I just walked into the store, found it there. I don't remember getting it last year. I know that they discontinued it for a year, at least for a commercial release a couple years ago. So happy that it's back. This is just a great freaking lager, just like everything Sierra Nevada does. And I also have to say, I don't know what it is. but the blue can and the blue 6-pack holder is just gorgeous. Blue is my favorite color. Blue is not typically used in beverage, well, in water obviously, but in like food and beverage, it's not considered like red or yellow, which everybody uses all the time. But there's just something about blue. I freaking love it, and it's gorgeous, and the beer is great to boot.
Yeah, it's a good looking can.
Yeah, it is
a fine beer. I haven't had that probably in a year or two. I'll have to look out for that. I am drinking a Voodoo Ranger Juice Force IPA from New Belgium. I think we talked a little bit about this on the episode that Phil was on. I mentioned that I had Fruit Force, and now I'm trying Juice Force. These two beers, these Force beers, are so stupidly good. Like,
really.
they're high ABV. They're 9.5%. And they are like fruited like hazy IPAs. And like this one tastes like orange, like a little bit of passion fruit. While Fruit Force is just fruit punch in your face. This stuff is so damn good. I bought like a Voodoo Ranger variety pack. I am a New Belgium stan, as they now call them.
So I have to ask you this. So I love New Belgium, and we featured it a lot at Old Favorite Friday, and I visited the brewery. I love the portfolio. I've never liked Voodoo Ranger.
Any of them, the ones, because it's like it's a whole brand family now.
But so okay, let me go back to I never was a fan of Ranger as an IPA. Not a bad beer, but nothing that just didn't speak to me. I've had Voodoo Ranger a couple times. Now, they could have been old cans or bottles or what have you, but it never spoke to me. So I've avoided that brand just thinking, this is kind of a jerk move. A originally Belgian-centric brewery doing IPAs, that doesn't make any sense at all. I can't support that at all, apparently. But just never. So I've kind of blocked out Voodoo Ranger, any Rangers from New Belgium. Do you like the founding beer of that series as well, or do you just like kind of the derivatives?
I honestly can't think of the last time that I've had just the standard Voodoo Ranger. I've had the Imperial a couple times. Like it was in a variety pack I got like late last year, and I think that's a really good just Imperial IPA. It's not hazy. It's just like your regular, almost West Coasty style that you would expect from back in the day. But
I'd love that.
The variety pack that I got has an experimental hazy that uses Citra, Voodoo Vice, which is one that they did last year, and it's another like fruited hazy. What else was in there? Juicy Haze, Voodoo Ranger, and that was good. And then this one, I mean, the Juice Force, Fruit Force, the Voodoo Vice are just so damn good. They're with the fruit flavors and just being kind of up there in the ABV. It's like getting the job done.
Well, I'm gonna have to be on the lookout and take your advice on this because I've got some beers to try.
I got this at Publix, and I was standing in line, and the dude in front of me he's like, "Those beers, are they like bitter?" Because I've been trying to try different IPAs, and they're all too bitter for me. I was like, I haven't had all the ones in this, but I don't think that they're going to be bitter. They're all very fruit forward. He's like, you know what? I'm going to try that next time I come in here. I'm like, cool. And he's like, thanks, man. God bless. Like, oh, gotta end it with that, huh?
And Mike immediately judges this very kind person because they are religious.
Yes. So, what have we already done an hour of this?
This is great material, Mike. We're just listen. This people would imagine by listening to this conversation that we're actually friends. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to, when we log off here, go find that picture I have of you and just scratch more X's over your eyes. So we wanted to talk tonight about something that kind of came up in the last episode towards the end when we were talking about local. And that is kind of like, who are craft breweries trying to sell to? Who is our market? The brewing phenomena, if you will, has probably been started maybe 15-ish years ago at this point, somewhere around there, a decade and a half. And here we are in the year of Kevin's Lord 2023, and the market is stagnant for beer. Phil talked about that a little bit, how craft is just kind of sitting where it has been sitting. And I remember a decade ago, when there was many less breweries than there are today, our focus for sales was, we're going to get that Bud Light drinker. We're going to get that Miller drinker. We're going to convert them into drinking good beer from local establishments. That didn't fucking happen. And it isn't going to fucking happen because we were too full of ourselves to understand the things that make those people those drinkers. And the most important one of all being that they just like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. We shouldn't be trying to tell people not to drink or enjoy things that they like.
There's a baseline of smugness in that, of saying that the thing that you like isn't good enough and the thing that I like is better. And that is what every single meme about craft beer people has been for the past 20 years. It's every joke from the Budweiser commercials and things of that nature that have played on national TV says. And to reiterate and make it maybe even more clear, like, they don't think there's anything wrong with what they drink. They are thrilled with what they drink. They have no interest in drinking anything else. And the presumption that we were going to go in there and say, well, try this Summerfest lager. Fuck you. This doesn't taste like Miller Lite. Why would I drink this? You know, it's just, it was wild to begin with to think of that. And listen, we have to also admit, some people did have converted.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I didn't grow up. I didn't see craft beer growing up for sure, because the movement in the bigger stages hadn't even started yet. I would have gone down the path of being a normal lager, macro lager drinker had I not been exposed and got into it. So some people do get peeled off, but converting the already entrenched people that are willing to, buy product and shoot it with M16 machine guns when they don't like it or their political stances. No, that's how they change their preferences, not because someone introduced them to the concept of hops.
Yeah, and even with a lot of them who might be on board with the idea of trying something different, and let's say you even hook them on the taste of a new beer, when they go, all right, how much is a 6-pack? Oh, no. You had a lot of people balk at craft beer pricing. And rightfully so, for their, these people looking out for their wallets and trying to get the most bang for their buck. Hey, this is the thing that I've been enjoying for X amount of years at this price with maybe little fluctuations. Now you want me to spend $3 to $5 more a 6-pack for your thing? I don't think so.
And I need to point out that is not even about socioeconomic status. That's about the perception of what a thing that you know about already should cost. This is now 5, 6, 7 years ago, when you could still find a 6-pack of Blue Moon for $8.99 on a store shelf. And at the same time, the Wizard White Ale was sitting there on the same store shelf for $10.99, $2 more for a 6-pack. I'm in Boca Raton. I'm talking to a guy that's holding a Mercedes-Benz keychain, right? And he balks at the idea of spending $2 more on a 6-pack and won't even try the beer because of the pricing of it. It's not because they don't have the money for it. It's that they believe beer should cost this. Beer is not wine. That guy might have gone in there and bought a 6-pack of Blue Moon and $100 bottle of Caymus Cabernet with no problem whatsoever. But in the perception is that beer is supposed to be cheap, and the beer that I drink is in this price tier, and anything over that is just insane. And why would anyone else buy that?
Yeah, 100%. And there isn't anything that you can really do to change that. So with these people, like you've let's say you converted some people over to craft beer, and those ones who were very staunch on that, then you know what, they're there. They're off doing their own thing. Well, we've kind of saturated our sales market with all the people who we have converted. And now there's a shit ton more breweries. Who are we trying to sell to at this point in 2023? I don't know how many breweries. There's a lot. There's over 5,000, over 8,000. I really don't know. I'm not the statistics guy here. And so competition has gotten stiffer, and the markets have not really grown for beer. So who is it that we are trying to sell to and build our businesses and like grow our businesses off of at this point? Kevin, you're a lot more hands-on in the sales side of things than I am. I'm not saying that I'm not at all, but you work with your sales staff probably daily. You work with your distribution partners daily. What is something that you see as a target market out there?
So I can speak directly to the IPA that we launched as a year-round brand this year and say that we picked up a large chain in South Florida. It's got 25 locations. It is not craft beer centric. In fact, there's probably 2 what we consider craft or crafty beers, maybe 3 on some 15 lines in some of these locations. It is, for the people that don't live in Florida, Flanagan's, you are not talking about a craft beer drinker. You're mostly talking about Bud Light, Miller Lite drinkers that want to eat chicken wings and eat burgers and drink moderately to cheap price margaritas. And we picked up this chain. We are doing extremely well there, but it has nothing to do with the fact that the beer is craft. It has nothing to do with the fact that the beer is local. It has to do with people that know the term IPA, and there's one of those. They drink it. They probably drink a lot of it and have no idea that we are breweries down the street. It is that mentality of this drinker is not interested in us as a brewery. They're interested in us in a brand that sits on a tap line at a restaurant they go to. And they're never going to go to our website. They're never going to follow us on Instagram. They're just going to buy the beer, put money in our pockets, and hopefully enjoy it. And maybe, they bring in a friend and tell them they like that beer as well. To me, that's our growth market. Our growth market is on draft and in package of finding people that look at craft beer in a passive way, that do not want to engage with it on social media, but are happy because the picture on the 6-pack looks really cool and it's available at my local grocery store. And they're never going to go any deeper than that. And that is not the person we thought we were going to be attacking is the wrong word, selling to more than 8 years ago when we launched. We thought we were going to be selling to this hyper-vigilant group of people that are going to want to engage with us and come to our brewery and learn every little nuance about the beer. And in 8 years, that group of people has grown by, 0.5%. I'm just throwing out numbers here, guys. 0.5%, 1% a year. We're getting more of those people, but it's not anywhere near the growth of the passive beer drinker or craft beer drinker and what they're spending on our beer.
I think in all of that you said there, something came to me as a target and who you have grabbed, and that is people who are specific to a style IPA. That is not people who you were typically getting. So like these people are already craft beer drinkers, but they may have looked past you as like, I'm not really into Belgian beers. I'm not into that type of thing, but I like IPAs. Well, now that you have created an IPA that appeals towards this subsection of the craft beer drinkers market, you are now appealing to those people and gaining those people in. So that is that is kind of a targeted market right there, and a good one at that, because IPA is king when it comes to craft beer.
And it's a unique market because listen, there's no market research here. I'm throwing out numbers. If you think they're wrong or what have
This
you,
is not a scientific statistics podcast.
I'm just saying, if you think I'm an idiot, you're right. But the vast majority, 75, 85% of the people out there that have heard the term IPA don't know what it means. As many times as I've had a person come to me at a beer fest and say, this porter, what kind of IPA is it? Because they just heard IPA and they know craft and they just think they're the same thing. And they have no idea of what a East Coast hazy or a West Coast, they just know IPA. I believe that the people that are driving most of these sales of what I believe, and I will say this term again, and to be redundant, that which I believe is a incredible example of the style. I mean, I put it up against any of the best IPA producers in the area, and a blind taste test, I think it's just expressive and flavorful and hits every single box. If you're really, really into those tropical fruit flavor forward IPAs, the people that are drinking it and in the accounts that we're selling to right now could not give a shit less. They just know that the initials there are IPA. I've had some of those. I like them. So I don't think the sales are any better right now because it's a really, really good version. If I talked to Ralph and said, hey, listen, let's cheap on everything and just make a crappy IPA, I don't even think the sales would go down at all in those locations. I don't think it would matter. Because it's not about the quality of the beer, it's about the initials, it's about the fact that people are drinking a beer, and that's what they're going after in that market. Not in the greater market. I think it would suffer in the craft beer bars that we have it in, but in this market, it's not about quality, it's about exposure.
You know, it is interesting to think that IPA itself has like this dedicated. It's just this generic thing in the lexicon now, almost for beer drinkers, where you have to order by like saying, oh, but I'm a Bud Light drinker, I'm a Miller Light drinker, I'm a Coors Light drinker. But there are people who are now, I'm an IPA thing, which is not a specific brand, and people will go, just give me whatever IPA you have, and that is just, it's kind of mind-boggling in that sense that you're not calling a specific brand, and people will just be like, yeah, I dig that. And it shows some growth really towards where we have gotten as the craft industry, that people have just generically created IPA as something that they know, recognize, and will go to.
And the flavor profile is so disparate. It's so different depending on what IPA you have. But that's not anything new. I mean, Cabernet Sauvignon. A Cabernet Sauvignon from the Alexander Valley is very different from one from the Napa Valley. A Cabernet Sauvignon from France is very, very different than one from California. But under the banner of Cabernet, people just knew they liked that grape, even though they can taste wildly different from vineyard to vineyard that's across the road from each other.
Yeah.
But we latch onto the things that we know. An old girlfriend of mine said one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard, and I always repeat it, people like to think they know things. And once people like to think they know that they like IPAs, they will say that, and they will like every IPA they have, even if the IPA that they're drinking now tastes nothing like the IPA they had yesterday. Right? I've had so many people tell me
or
that...
even if that IPA is a porter.
Or if that IPA is not an IPA, exactly. It's just people will latch onto those kind of things. But I think it's really interesting the way also, and you're talking about what's our market, who are we going for? The question is always what's your brewery? What's your philosophy? Because I know for a fact that there are breweries in our neck of the woods that are actively trying to keep their beer out of more commercial places, that are getting mad when their cans end up on the shelves at Total Wine, because they don't want passive beer drinkers that are not dedicated followers, that don't know about the hype and the legacy of and the prestige behind the brand, just grabbing these beers and rating them on Untapped. Because without some of that background, they might not rate the beer a 5 or a 4.5 or what have you. They might just think it's another IPA on the shelf and give it a 3. Because maybe they don't like bitter beers, or they don't like these kind of hoppy beers. Or maybe it's like when I get a 1 rating on a wit beer and they go, 1, don't like wits. Well, then don't fucking rate the wit. But anyway, you want to keep that beer out of that person's hands and really funnel it into the people that are dedicated to craft beer so that you can keep your hype and prestige. And I know one, like I said, I'm speaking of one brewery in particular, but I know that if they had the opportunity to be at Flanagan's in 25 accounts and do the volume that I'm doing right now, I guarantee they'd say no. Because the people that are rating the beer from Flanagan's, it's just another beer to them. It means nothing to them as far as the greater craft beer industry.
But are people who go to Flanagan's really on Untapped?
Yes, a lot of them are.
Really?
And we see, yes, because it's not, I mean, first of all, it's not just Bud Light drinkers, I just say. It's got 25 locations, tons of different people are going through there, and a lot of people are on Untapped. Go through and poke around. You'll see people rating macros like crazy. Right? And rating Bud Light high, and well, maybe not anymore, but given the kind of person that wants to drink a Bud Light and what they think about it now. But you see a lot of that. You definitely see a lot of because you see where the check-ins are coming from. I've seen tons of check-ins from that area, and the area from that chain. So we've actually seen our scores go down, just like you would expect, and some breweries would expect, and the reason why they're trying to keep beers out of those places. We've actually seen in the Waypoint IPA, particularly in those locations, that it was up, 3.92, 3.94, up into the 4s early on, and now we're down. We're 3.6, 3.7, because we're getting a lot of 3s coming in through Untapped, coming in through those more commercial places where maybe the style isn't understood as much, and now I can't sell the beer to Tavour. That really sucks. I hate seeing a beer that I think is of the highest quality losing the kind of cred that I think it could build. But I think I'm going to sell 250 barrels of this beer this year. And that's a big deal for a 2,500 barrel brewery. So I'm going to take it. I'm proud of the beer. I think it's great. But as far as like a overall marketing strategy, is it the best move? If I was in someone else's shoes, would I continue to try to keep the beer more limited and cult and kind of direct it to the places where I wanted it to go and I knew it would be received the way I want it to? Maybe.
So, staying on target markets, like, let's look at when we were getting into beer, like people like us were getting into beer. People slightly older than us were, like, the groups of people that we were hanging out with at Coffee District, at the Buddha Lounge, and so on, that were around our age and slightly older than us. Well, all of us are now like about 10 years or more older than that point now. So the target market at that point has now aged significantly, and a newer generation of people have come into drinking age, and they are a tough market to seemingly crack into. The seltzers and RTDs seem to be things that are grabbing the young people market right now. I would like to say though, the whole concept around that seltzers were grabbing young people because of the more health benefits is completely been a debunked bullshit thing, because everyone's now putting out high ABV seltzers that are selling much better, and it just proves they don't care about being health conscious as much as we thought they did.
That's a really good point, Mike, but don't look past the fact that in general, high ABV or not, a clear beverage that they were drinking before that seemed healthier still seems healthier. There's a term, beer gut. I've never heard seltzer gut and enter the lexicon. So I think what you're saying is maybe it was overstated, but I don't think it's nothing. I mean, I literally, this last weekend, I did one of the worst events I've ever done in my life, and I did an event on Cinco de Mayo at a taco joint, and my God, am I old. There were two kinds of people there, young people that I should have nothing to do with, and people my age that should have something else to do with their lives. And unfortunately, I was there working, but I was talking to people way too young to be entertaining conversation with me. And to the person, they were like, "Oh yeah, I've heard great things about craft beer, but I want to get a beer gut. Yeah, I try to drink tequila and seltzers." There was a undercurrent for those, 4 people. And by the way, it's big statistics there, but there was an undercurrent of that. And so I think that it is it's in the ballpark. It's in the conversation, if it's not all the conversation.
Gotcha. So yeah, the young market is going to be a tough cookie to crack, because our current customers are getting older, and we're not grabbing a whole lot of those people anymore. We're not converting too many of them. So it is the youth who we have to look towards and trying to appeal to them. Is this why the youth, why so many breweries have pivoted to making RTDs and seltzers and hard beverages from the youth, like Sunny D and all of that shit?
I think so. I mean, I also see, it's not just with the youth, but I think there is some of it. We also just find that they're not drinking as much. I'm not trying to say that college kids are not getting shit-faced, because they are. But the amount of drinking done by people in their early 20s is less than it was 20 years ago for my generation when I was in my 20s. So you have also a uptick in non-alcoholic beverages. You have an uptick in things like kombucha. I don't know how, if that was probably a little bit hotter maybe a couple years ago, but I think you just have less drinkers. If you pull out the pie chart, right, and you say I got 100% of 21-year-olds, I think there are a lot less drinkers in that group. I think there are a lot less overall beer drinkers. And I think that piece of the pie of what the potential craft beer aficionados of tomorrow are just, maybe they're half of what they were in the past. Maybe they're a third, maybe they're 2/3. It doesn't matter. But if that pie isn't growing in some way, as the industry of breweries that are making craft beer continues to balloon almost without exception in every area that I see, it's unsustainable. You need college kids, you need the new drinkers, you need the new 30, the people going into their 30s with disposable income. They're being affected by RTDs and seltzers, and they are in their 30s and maybe starting to think about health conscious stuff a little bit more, or maybe they're not drinking as much either. So it really is the perfect storm of less and less people that are interested. We're not converting any of the new people, and it's just preach doom and gloom and the sky is falling for the industry. But, our good friend Phil Palmisano talking about the local grocery store sets and how we keep getting eviscerated and moving into a smaller and smaller space, that wasn't the case. It was ballooning out 5, 6, 7 years ago, and now it's contracting for good reason.
Yeah. I myself have found that I want to start cutting down on the amount that I'm drinking. I've been trying new NA stuff.
Nice.
By the way, the Guinness NA is so fucking good.
Really?
It tastes just like Guinness. It's fantastic. And I've been trying some stuff from Athletic, who we plug on the show from time to time. Friend of ours, Tim Buds, is a brewer for them up in Connecticut. This market seems to be something that a lot of brewers are trying to get into, and there's some success there. Athletic is now one of the top 50 craft breweries in the country, and they don't make alcohol.
As painful as this is for someone who does make alcohol and someone who is not going to pivot into NA anytime soon, I can't say never, but not right now. It sucks for the business. Overall, it's a really good thing.
Yeah,
it's a really good thing that people are drinking less. I mean, it's not healthy for you. I mean, we have when we have a podcast called United We Drink, it is assumed that we're talking about drinking beer, right, and drinking alcohol. But if you drink 7 beers a week, there is no doctor in the world that's not going to tell you you'd be better off if you drank 6. And if there's no doctor in the world that wouldn't, if you drink 6, wouldn't tell you you're better off drinking 5. So people exploring NA and going into non-alcoholic beer and things of that nature is a better thing for society. I know it sucks for my bottom line, but I can't really be mad at that.
No, and it's, I think, a tough conversation that some brewery owners are having. Some of them might be easier than others. Like the amount of smaller breweries that I've seen coming online with NA stuff is pretty impressive, because I didn't think that it would be something that I would see as hard of a pivot on, because of just hard-headedness from brewery owners that we all know who some of those are, who are like, no, I will not do that. This is what we do. I will not make something that is inferior to that. Now, there are still bad NA beers out there, but it has gotten way better. I mean, the fact that I feel confident in saying that the Guinness 0.0 tastes just like a real pint of Guinness, it should be a badge of endorsement that they should put on their website. Mike Yurevich said this, but no. But
little self-aggrandizing, Mike.
I'm on the lookout for some stuff from a brewery called Untitled Arts. They're a kind of hypey brewery. But they have an NA line of beer that people have spoken very, very highly of, especially a number of people have told me their Italian Pilsner is the best NA beer ever. And I'm like, I like Italian Pilsners as a beer style. If you can give me a NA product of that tastes just like that, has usually a lot less calories in it than a regular beer, I could probably shave a couple days off of my week of drinking and like improve my life considerably.
Well, we talked about early on, like who are we selling to? Who's the customer base? And I think to take this NA conversation back to that, I see this when in my crystal ball. If I had to predict 5-10 years from now, if the NA stuff sticks, and we talked about this with Phil, seltzer was going to take over the world, and all of a sudden we're seeing seltzer kind of the market shrinking, right? Because RTDs came in. Still alcohol, right? But RTDs coming in. And then obviously the NA market's growing. I don't think 5 to 10 years from now, there will be an equal section to the craft section of 40 non-alcoholic beers at a grocery store.
I don't think so either.
I don't think that's going to happen. So I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw with seltzers. Everyone's going to get into the market, and it's going to be the big guys that can produce a lot of it, and the ones that were early adopters are going to become the brand names, the name brands, the Frisbees, the Kleenex. Hey, they're the ones that make the non-alcoholic beer, and there'll be probably more. Maybe there'll be 5 to 10 of those brands, because there'll be a stout made by Guinness, and there'll be a lager made by the brewery you're talking about, and there'll be a couple other things. But I think that it may be. The reason I'm not excited to get into the NA market is that I don't think I'm going to have anyone to sell it to. I think people are, by the time I get into a package and try to get into a grocery store where the margins are slim, but where you can actually make some money because of volume, I don't think I'll be able to compete. I think it's going to be much, much bigger breweries doing those kind of things.
And first things first. Frisbee's one of those like generic in name. I didn't realize. What is the?
They're flying discs.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Frisbee, Kleenex. Yeah, they're generic names that are actually brand names. Yes.
Then next, that's a big thing for you to say. Like that. You know what? There's a potential that we could be very late to the market on something like this, and there's people who would not say something like that, and I commend you for just being open and honest about something like that. The last part of this that I feel we could address, and maybe you have something else, but the thing that came to me that of who is our target market, and that is your customers. I feel like we are now at the point, like I said, we have saturated ourselves with the outside drinkers as much as I feel like we can. So now it is a matter of, and we kind of touched on this with the style thing. It's a matter of me trying to take your customers who aren't already my customers, and vice versa. So now the whole, we're craft, we're buddies, we're friends, we collaborate, don't litigate. We're all
worry about it.
simpatico. We're going after each other now because we have to. Those are the people who are drinking beers similar to that. And I feel like this is where just this is possibly the laziest thing that we can do as a market is attack one another because it's low-hanging fruit. But it's also, what else are we going to do if the other channels are drying up?
I mean, listen, Mike, I could not agree with you more. The idea that, let me start off with the nice stuff first. I do really care about other
Compliment
breweries.
sandwich?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I'm gonna start with a compliment. I'm probably not gonna end with one. But I go out of my way to praise Copperpoint and to say, if you're not drinking beer at my place and you're local, you should be drinking beer there. I would never tell anyone that they should have a Copperpoint beer on draft over a Barrel of Monk's beer. Even if they were leaning in that direction, even if they were in Boynton Beach right next to the brewery, I would try to find an angle about why my beer would fit better, because that's going to improve my bottom line. That's an important part of doing business. But I don't want to cannibalize your business specifically. I have a friendship there. It's a little bit different. I've known Matt Cox forever. And, we had Sam from Savage Life on here on the podcast. I love Sam. He's a great freaking guy. I want to support him. There are breweries out there that I really want to do well, and I will go out of my way to promote them, say nice things about them, give them good reviews, things of that nature. There is goodwill. There are people out there that we all want to support. Whoever you are in the craft beer industry, there's always going to be that. But when it gets down to the nitty-gritty, and we've only got so many tap handles, it is just a free-for-all. And it has been for years. Anyone who wants to put on blinders and say that people haven't been going after other craft breweries haven't been going after my Wizard handles in Boca for the past 7 years is insane. And if I have my sales rep going out there going, well, we got Waypoint coming out there. Well, you know what? Let's not take any other local IPAs off draft. Let's just, listen, go into a bar and try to go after their Bud Light handle with this new IPA. No, he's going to go in and say, is that High Life selling for you? Right? Is that, is that local IPA that's even closer than us selling for you? Well, no. Well, then give me that handle. Let me have a crack at it. That's been going on forever. The amount of times we've been replaced for another local craft in our own brand portfolio of our distributor, it happens every day. It's been happening forever. The facade that we're all in this together has never really been true when it comes to the
very
distribution.
Flimsy, yeah.
And I'm saying, in spirit, I agree with you. And I do not think that there has been like a vicious attack against other breweries. I haven't experienced it from either side. But when we're talking about competition, when we're talking about livelihoods, when we're talking about a shrinking market where I need to pay my employees and I need to grow my business because that's my responsibility, I got to take every opportunity I get. And if, as you said so well, the people, the drafts that are there, the spots in the coolers that are there are already there and people are buying that beer. That is my customer. I need to get them. And that's why we're seeing a shrinking of the market. And that's why over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see an evisceration, I think, of local craft, at least here in my neck of the woods. It's the place I know the most. But I would not be surprised if it wasn't all over the country and all over the world.
Yeah, I would concur on that. And this is where I'm not going to get too deep into it. More people should have done brew pubs and small facilities. But c'est la vie. I don't know if that fits there. I'm not French.
Honestly, just to end the podcast there, that was one of the better lines. C'est la vie. I'm not sure what that means.
Anything else you want to add into this topic? I think this was a really good conversation on this. I think these last two really worked well together.
I mean, honestly, at the risk of being self-serving, I think the idea of like the fight craft versus craft could be its own 3-part series, because this idea of what the perception is in the industry, outside the industry, the knockdown, drag out fights that are going to be coming, that have been around already. I mean, we could tell stories, and like, I said a second ago that I've never seen the viciousness from either side, either someone perpetrating on me like really aggressively, or us perpetrating on somebody else. I have been in a situation where another local brewery said that my head brewer was the worst head brewer in the entire state of Florida. I have been in a situation where people have said really nasty things about my brewery and my beer. So I guess I wasn't being totally honest, or I was forgetting some things. But we could have conversations about breweries going after breweries, and I'm sure you have stories, Mike, or we can look at and find examples online, or bring in some brewers from other areas and talk about that, because that narrative of kumbaya, I think it's important to highlight the good aspects about the community and about breweries, but also not be blind to all the real shit that goes on.
That could be a really good conversation, because I could talk about a lot of stuff.
We should bring in like maybe two guests and try to pick some people from different areas of the country and different size breweries and try to share some stories about that. I think that would be a really fun little round table. I love spitballing ideas while we're actually doing the podcast.
Hey,
It's real time.
We
Vote
are
on this.
the majority of our listenership are industry type people. If you're down for something like that, hit me up and let me know, and we'll try to put together like this round table discussion on shit like that. Um, other than that, let's head into last calls, the point in the show where we give each other an unspecific amount of time to talk about whatever it is that we want, beer related, not beer related. It's unopposed, unobjected, uninterrupted. I'll start things off here. As we are recording this, this is Teacher Appreciation Week in the United States. And I just want to send out a big thank you to all of the people who are educators out there, because you have a very, very, very tough job. You get paid not a whole lot for the most part. And things are tough throughout the country, depending on where you're at for educators. Where we're at, it's even tougher. So I would like you to know that you are appreciated. Very, very, very much. We're doing a ton of little things, even at the kids' daycare, for the teachers there throughout the entire week. Like tomorrow, we're doing a little brunch for the teachers. Like some parents are buying the stuff, others are serving it up. Like my wife and I were going in and doing up coffee for the teachers, and like we gave them some snacks and gifts throughout the week. I want every educator out there to know who's really passionate about teaching our young ones, because I have very young ones. Kevin has a young one. Like, you are important to us, and you are going to help us out considerably. And we hope that you keep on fighting the good fights, and we will keep on trying to fight the good fights next to you. So with that, teachers, I appreciate the fuck out of you, and keep on keeping on.
My turn?
Yes.
Oh, good. Time to talk about a TV show, which is a great freaking TV show that is wrapping up its run right now, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. This show has been so good for so long, and the cast is next level amazing. Alex Borstein is a force of freaking nature, and between her and Rachel Brosnahan, which I may be mispronouncing that because I've never really heard it said, but I've only read it, effortlessly charming. It is just such a joy to watch a show that makes me laugh constantly, where there is this undercurrent of family and lunacy and madness, but it's so brilliantly done. The last episode that I watched, which another episode will come up at the time the show comes out, but the last episode I watched was so heartbreaking and beautiful. It made me and my wife cry. It is just such a great example of like modern television and great storytelling with, like I said, effortlessly charming human beings. I mean, Tony Shalhoub is absolutely amazing. There's nobody in that cast that is not perfect. Absolutely perfect. And I had to call that out because I've enjoyed it so much. If you haven't given it a try, go start from the beginning. It's just great. I mean, if you love stand-up comedy, we've talked about stand-up comedy, myself, Mike, Joel, when he was on here constantly. It's a great example of it. I will say this. Nobody actually talks like that. It is the perfect example of like the West Wing style of like way too witty, way too charming, way too quick, because people just have this stuff loaded, but it's so good that you give it license and you forgive it. Mike will appreciate this. It's like Stone Cold Steve Austin stomping a mud hole in the corner. Looked like crap, but you believed him, so you bought it and you sold it. I just think that that it's a great show, and I highly recommend anyone checking it out that hasn't checked it out yet.
Awesome. Yeah, we're so behind on shit. I think we've only watched 2 seasons of that.
So good.
Also props to WGA.
To what?
WGA, the Writers Guild.
Oh yes, yes, 100%.
Big support.
And by the way, is there any for the opposition? Is there any worse team of people than the Writers Guild to have to compete with the signs that they're going to write? Just going on Facebook and seeing the brilliance of the signs has been part of the fun of that. It's great.
Oh yeah, it has been. Anything you want to plug, Kev?
We have a can release coming up. We're actually doing a variation of Single in Havana, which is one of our flagships, called Single in Savannah. Mike, guess what kind of fruit we're using?
Pesh.
Pesh, yeah. So we have a peach version of it. We've been playing with it for a while, but we're actually doing a can release coming up. We're really excited about that. And we're also doing a canning run for the first time of our double, which is one of my favorite beers we've ever done. It's a double, so no one cares. But it's a really, really good double. So I'm excited about that. It's coming up. And if you are local to Florida, go to barrelamonks.com, go to our social media sites. You'll see when the release is.
Awesome. By the time this show comes out, we will have celebrated our 8th anniversary at Copper Point. So if you came, awesome. If you didn't, fuck you. But I plugged this on the last one. I want to throw it out again. Check out my Substack, mikelovesbeer.com/substack.com. I am putting out a little newsletter every Monday with little rants and raves about beer and just whatever is on my mind. It's free. It costs you absolutely nothing to read it. I know some people charge money for Substacks, but I'm not doing that, at least not right now. But sign up. You can get all of that delivered to your inbox every Monday, right into your email. I know that it can be signing up for newsletters and stuff is intimidating because you end up just being like, delete. But you can also just go to the website and read the stuff there. So enjoy it how you will. Also, I have all of my social as normal at Mike Loves Beer on Twitter and Instagram. Who knows how long that shit will last because both of those platforms are basically unusable at this point. So the podcast social is on there too at United We Drink on Twitter, at United We Drink Pod on Instagram, but yeah, fuck them. We're on all of the podcast services of your loving choice, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Overcast, wherever fine podcasts are found. If you would like to support this show financially, you can head on over to our website, unitedwedrink.com, and check out the Brands We Love page. We have a number of awesome brands that we are affiliated with, and if you purchase something through those links, we get a little kickback from them. We also have a store, unitedwedrink.com/store, where you can buy shirts, buttons, stickers, all of that stuff. Someone bought 11 shirts from us. Was that your father?
That was my dad.
Jesus Christ. Thanks, Jim. Really appreciate it. I don't know.
Supporter.
There's gonna be so many United We Drink pentagram shirts walking around the greater Detroit area, and I love it.
They're doing some big family get together, and he got shirts for everybody. So this shows the love of a father for a son.
It really does.
And by the way, I will say this: I'm not sure I will ever show this much love for Jad as purchasing United We Drink shirts to support his podcast.
You're being like, Jad, you have unboxing videos on YouTube. I'm not buying any of your merch.
Can I get one for free?
No, fuck you. Go to your room. So thank you, Jim. Thank you, everyone who has bought merch over the years. I really appreciate it. Other than that, we will be back in a couple weeks to talk more about this wild, wacky world of adult beverage. We'll catch you then. Cheers.
Cheers.